You're hitting your protein target, training hard, eating clean, and still not seeing results. Muscle tone isn't changing. Your strength feels flat. The scale is barely budging. What's the truth? You don't need more protein. You need a stronger signal at the right time. Because muscle isn't built from totals. It's built from triggers. And those triggers, they only work when the MPS room is unlocked. Every time you eat a meal with enough high quality protein to have enough leucine in it, we're talking, 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine, you flip the metabolic switch. The light switch goes on in a place that we call the MPS room, or muscle protein synthesis for short. Your muscle protein synthesis command center. The foreman mTOR shows up. He calls in the crew or the workers. They get to work, repairing, rebuilding, and strengthening. But here's the rule no one talks about. Once the shift starts, the doors lock to the MPS room. No more materials, no more workers, no new signals are going to get through until the job is finished. This locked door phase is called the refractory period, and it matters more with age. At 30, your MPS room might reset in 2.5 to 3 hours. At 60, it might take 5 or 6 hours to reset because your muscles develop what is known as anabolic resistance. They stop responding to small signals. They need stronger hits and longer breaks. So if you're grazing on protein every 2.5 to 3 hours, let's say yogurt at 9 o'clock, some type of shake at 11, just 2 hours later, a bar at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and these things aren't spaced out correctly, you're not building more. You're just interrupting the crew. They're mid-shift. The door's locked, and the signal that you're sending, it's just simply being ignored. That's all. That protein isn't wasted. You can use it for other things, but it's being ignored. This is where compounding comes in. Because when you space your signals correctly, you don't just build. You build on top of what you've already built. Each properly timed meal adds a new clean layer of muscle and repair. Not because you're flooding the system, but because you're letting each signal complete its shift. Over weeks, over months, or compounded over years or decades, wow, does that add up. And you go from no visible change to lean mass, real strength, to metabolism that stays high even as you age. But when you mistime your meals, you cut each signal short. You interrupt repair and building of the muscle tissue. You block the compounding process of this adding up over days, weeks, and years. That's why spacing matters. And that's why signal frequency is not the goal. Signal clarity is. Example number 1, the mistimed breakfast. Sandra, 61. 8 a.m., 20 grams of protein, yogurt and berries, 1.5 grams of leucine. Not quite enough to flip the switch on. No light switch on, no MPS. At 9:30, she adds 2 eggs, 1 gram more of leucine. In total, she would have hit the threshold, but that's not how the body works. You needed it one time. She didn't have it in one shot. And because the MPS is triggered by a spike, not a slow drip, nothing happens. It's not a cumulative number for the day. That's why what your grams of protein are for the day are irrelevant to me. The workers never showed up. The MPS room stayed dark. Lesson? You can't whisper the signal. You have to shout it out once and clearly. Example 2, the constant feeder. Steve, my client, 64 years old, 6 meals a day. 7 a.m., 30 grams of protein. 10 a.m., having protein shakes, consumed about having protein. 12 o'clock, making sure that he has chicken, some type of salad, and another protein source. 3 o'clock comes around, 3 hours later, a small hit of protein in a protein bar. Okay, guess what? I'm going to have some form of chicken, meat, or fish and have a protein-based meal at dinner. And then, of course, at 9 o'clock before he goes to bed, he has a casein shake, a slow-release protein shake. Wow. On paper, people that are obsessed with protein thinks he looks great. In reality, only 2 or 3 of those meals landed. They hit during the refractory period. The crew's in mid-job. The door's locked to the MPS room. The signal was completely ignored. So we simplify him to 3 meals. We turn around and tell him, space your meals 5 to 6 hours apart. Give your muscles full time to recover and so they can reactivate again. 30 to 40 grams of protein at each meal to turn the light switch on. Each one strong enough to unlock the room. Within 6 weeks, all of a sudden he starts seeing these increased gains. And he starts to realize he was so consumed with total protein for the day, he just completely ignores and misunderstood timing. His body starts to listen again. Another example, a nighttime shake infusion. Marie eats dinner at 6 o'clock. Full MPS trigger. She has enough leucine there, she reached the leucine threshold, she turns on the MPS room. But then turns around and has a protein shake at 9 o'clock, thinking it helps. I need to get more protein for the day, she said. Truth is, the MPS room is locked. It locked when you had dinner between 6 and 6:30 and it reached the leucine threshold. It had enough protein at that time and the door is locked. So the MPS won't trigger a new build phase. But if it's casein, it can support overnight recovery, feeding tissue maintenance while you sleep. Just don't expect it to flip the switch again. To unlock the MPS room and let it work, eat 3 high-protein meals a day. Space them 4.5 to 6 hours apart. Each meal equals, somewhere between 30 and 40 grams of protein, 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine, no protein snacks between meals. And if you do have protein snacks between meals, it'll be used for other things, but will not be used in the MPS room. If you snack, make it non-protein when it's not your meals. That's my mindset. So think like carrots and hummus are something I can do in between turning on MPS rooms. Apple with nut butter, something I could turn on in between igniting the MPS room. A fiber-rich green shake, fine, going after fiber in between the MPS rooms. These support blood sugar and satiety. So without interrupting the crew mid-job, here's the new lens. Eat to trigger, wait to reset, build to compound. Don't just feed your body, feed the signal. Let each shift finish, let each signal land. And over time, those layers of growth, they add up. Like bricks in a wall, like compounding interest in a muscle bank. Because you don't need more food, you need more clarity. If this helped you finally understand the MPS room and refractory period, share this with someone who's still eating 6 times a day and is obsessed with protein, and they're not getting much done. Drop a comment with your current meal timing and tell me, what shift are you gonna make starting tomorrow? Because after 50, muscle building isn't about more eating, it's about eating smarter. Respect the signal. Let the workers work, and your body will respond. The goal isn't to keep feeding your body, it's to teach it when to listen. Subscribe, leave a comment, and help this content reach more people. The algorithm listens, but more importantly, so does your mind.